Part 2.
All right. Ian's ready to jump back into this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, gentle sirs. It is my turn. Because I want to talk to you guys about this really awesome movie called Willow Creek. Crickets.
He just stares at us, just waiting for this.
So Willow Creek, like I said, came out in 2013. It's an independent found footage horror film written and directed by Bobcat Goldthwait. Guys, did I do fine?
Thank you.
It stars Alexi Gilmore and Bryce Johnson. Both of them have like pretty extensive, like nothing super prominent, but they've done a lot of shit, a lot of like shows
a lot
and stuff
of Hallmark Christmas movies.
Yeah, actually, that all have Sasquatch themes too. Surprisingly enough.
Sasquatch Santa.
Sasquatch Santa. Have a Merry Squatchmas.
I would definitely.
Is it Christmas Yeti?
That is that's our December shirt, guys. So
that one got me in the chest.
I'm just going to write that down.
Is it Christmas Yeti? I just want to glance over that. That was comic gold.
I'm writing it down right now as a t-shirt idea, just so I don't forget.
Yeti.
So yeah.
Sorry.
Continue.
I had a coffee.
I mean, I'm here for
one.
that. Like, those are also. I mean, I now want a Hallmark movie that is like Sasquatch as Santa. Yeah. So no. Again, people, please make my dreams come true. I'm really asking you. We'll start a GoFundMe to actually do all this. So yeah, what I want to talk about, because like Alexi plays Kelly and Bryce plays Jim. These are our primary characters throughout the whole thing. What I like about this Bryce Johnson, gentle sir, he, besides doing his normal acting and producing, he is obsessed with Bigfoot. He has a podcast called Bigfoot Collectors Club. And he also has this show on the Travel Channel, which it's called Expedition Bigfoot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He has made this a whole career.
Yes, 110%. And I actually kind of want to dive into it because I think he also will talk about, I'm assuming we'll talk about other cryptids and stuff like that. But I felt like it's a pretty cool tie-in that he was like so perfect for this role, because this movie plays out, yes, as a found footage, but it's like they are going on this adventure basically to create a documentary, which is cool.
Yep.
So we open up and we meet Jim and Kelly. They start in Bluff Creek and they're heading towards Willow Creek, where the famous Patterson Gimlin footage was shot, and basically the trail where they found Bigfoot. So they basically wanted to follow it and do a documentary on it. You catch on pretty quickly that his girlfriend Kelly is huge skeptic. She keeps on just comparing Bigfoot to Leprechaun, and so he's just like getting very offended the entire time. And I can only assume that this is probably what his real life is like as well.
Mm-hmm. It felt a little too real.
Yeah,
it was weird because at first I was like, this guy's bad. He's a bad actor. He's doing a bad job. But then over time, I was like, his character is actually more like this just oddly, I don't know, delusional kind of try hard, you know what I mean, kind of guy. And I was like,
single-minded.
Yeah, like I know people like this a little bit, you know?
Yeah. So
but then I do hate that he gets proven right. Because you want him to be wrong, because he's like a lot of red flags from a relationship standpoint. Like,
as much as I feel like you guys talk about him like feeling like this like try hard, but I almost felt like some of the people that they met up with along the way, I felt like he either has already had a connection with, just like I feel like the way they interacted felt a little bit more natural than say we're specifically acting, because it's more so because, like, let me give an example. What was the guy's name? So not Anita, but the guy after, Steve Stroifer.
Are you talking about Peter Jason from They Live? The guy who was like said he was like a forest ranger, but then he didn't want to say he was a forest ranger.
No, not him. No, the guy with the creepy eyes.
the guy who has the bookstore.
The shop. Yeah, the bookstore.
Yeah. They come off very genuine.
He did.
In a
He
way.
definitely did.
Yeah.
Well, they do because those are real people.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
And,
Steven Strufert and Tom Yamarone and then also Sean L. White, they all are just actually playing themselves because they really live out there. They really have a bookstore. They really
the guitar guy's like a real guy in real life.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, so they're all playing themselves. So in a way, like I didn't know that Jim had this like connection to the Bigfoot world. But they all have they all like live in that town that they're doing a documentary on, which is the one thing I really like about this film is it's as real as it can get because they bring in real cryptid experts, and people who live the culture to do interviews with. So
that's great to know that, and that would have been great to know going into it a little bit more because it makes his character make a little bit more sense too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But like I said, I think what like I got out of all these certain interaction was like it was a plus for this film that it felt genuine. It felt like he was almost like hanging out with an old friend, or they were able to level set because it wasn't, say, like an actor with like a real person who there might have been some contention if that person going in didn't believe all this stuff. But because Bryce in real life kind of likes all this stuff, it feels like you can buy into it a lot easier. And so, I mean, other than like along the way, they're pretty much going from one spot to the other. We're obviously learning the girlfriend's a skeptic. He's going on this trip specifically for his birthday. The one joke that I noted was like when she was like, why haven't they never found a Bigfoot body? And he kind of almost basically alluded, he's like, no body, no crime type situation. But
there's a lot of confirmation bias going on there. Those scenes, some of them were really good, and eventually I thought they did a good job as like a couple. I don't think I'm spoiling anything too much because it doesn't really play in that much of the story. But when he eventually like proposes to her, like way too early, and she's obviously like not into the idea. Because up until that point, it feels like she's way more into him than vice versa. But it makes sense later after that happens. But at the beginning, I was like, their interactions are so like unnatural in a way. Like as a couple, they just didn't feel like they knew each other really.
And it's also like pretty contentious too.
Yeah, I feel like they were fighting all the time. Like I felt that way.
Just little like microaggression type of stuff. And like something about people like that trying to be funny drives me nuts. Like people that are good looking are hardly ever funny. Like you're almost never funny. And they were great examples of that. Like even when they were trying to be funny, it's like, no, you've never had to be funny in your whole life because you've been good looking. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I almost took it as like she knew what was going to piss him off. So to me, I was like, no, they've been together for probably a little while now because she knows exactly what to say. I don't think she was like saying all these things just to be like, yeah, I don't believe. No, I thought she's like, yeah, fuck you and your little fucking
Well, he's
video.
also like she definitely like she's obviously a little bit more career oriented, and not saying that's better or worse, but like that's her mentality, and he's kind of like this like man child, right? You know, that she's just placating because it's his birthday or whatever,
right? And that's the other thing is like it comes up pretty early on that like she makes it apparent that like she wants to move to LA to follow her acting career, and like it outright says that he hates LA, he hates those people that she'll have to be around, all that kind of shit. So it makes sense that like she would also be doing what Meg is talking about of like all the button pushing shit, of like her getting dragged along on this goofy Bigfoot trip. Because he did the exact in that moment you're exactly talking about is like I felt like he was doing that exact thing the other way, like how much he was attacking this idea of LA would directly. After she's like, no, this is what I need to do for my fucking career. Let me just talk shit on it. Yeah. However, how good did those Bigfoot burgers look?
That did not include Bigfoot penis.
I do like that. Like, so why? This is the thing that felt disingenuous to me about this part too. Is like she very much played this part of like the aspiring, actor type of role. Like she was convincing. He also felt like that type of person to me. Mm-hmm. So like when he was like, no, I like to live up in the woods off the, you know what I mean? Off the grid. And, I don't deal with LA and they put fruit in my sushi or something. I was like, yeah, no, you feel like you look and act exactly like even more than her would fit in there. Yeah. You're the one trying to make clumsily try to make a movie too. Mm-hmm. Like you're like, you have that delusional, aspirations that you would expect somebody who would want to move to LA to be famous would have.
Right. Which is always just like a big downfall of any movie that I watch is like if it's a movie about writers, screenwriters, or actors or filmmakers, I'm almost always turned off because it's such an annoying path easiest traveled. It's easiest for us to imagine what a writer is or what because they have no experience outside of that life.
Right.
So it's why it's not, I don't know. I don't always love that path.
Gotcha.
It's hard to make it feel convincing.
Right. Yeah. Cause there's no she couldn't just be like a dental hygienist. Maybe she couldn't be, any other career.
Just have a regular job.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody has regular jobs. Everybody has to be like an actor. And it's like, ugh, already.
Yeah.
Steve, you're not tainted by the industry at all.
No, not at all.
Well,
things definitely worked out for me.
It just feels, like an easy way out. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the old writer's sage of write what you know. Mm-hmm. And that's why all of Stephen King's characters are writers because he only knows writers.
It's like why all Quentin Tarantino's characters love feet. It's like, obviously.
Yeah. Love feet and saying the N-word because that's what Quentin Tarantino's into.
Those are his two favorite pastimes.
Yeah.
Those are his actual hobbies at this point. Yeah.
It's on his Hinge profile.
Oh my God. Well, anywho, guys, we were just about to touch on these Bigfoot burgers, which I definitely want to make it. I want to see if someone can make me some bread that's in the shape of a foot.
Yeah.
Not because I have a foot fetish. Okay, guys, we need to be very clear about this.
Definitely not.
But yeah, so bringing everything full circle, this is where we tie into everyone else's film where we talk about Bigfoot penises.
Yeah.
And thank God.
It always comes up.
Yeah, it's always everything. Because that's who isn't thinking about that when they're like, this is a very big animal. So of course.
Well, and also there's the social implication, of big feet. You know what I mean? What does big feet typically mean? That's the. I mean, it's literally the first step in that direction.
Exactly.
You can't think about big feet without big feet, Bigfoot's.
I thought that was big hands. I guess big feet. Yeah. Okay.
Both. Yeah. Both.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's also when you think about it, you assume Bigfoot's a part of the ape family as we are,
right?
And then, but gorillas, they have tiny micro dicks.
Right.
So you have to wonder which way does it swing? Do Bigfoots also have tiny micro dicks like gorillas, or do they have proportional like us?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a great question.
Yeah.
Hey, do we have any ape experts out there, or maybe cryptid experts? Come talk to us.
Hey, all you guys out on the morning commute this morning, shoot us a line in the old DMs. Tell us how big you think Bigfoot's dick is. We'll talk about it on the air.
Which cryptid got the biggest dick?
Really,
Call in, let us know.
Let us know. Morning Zoo Crew coming at you live.
Oh, freaking God.
Traffic on the 8th.
Oh my God, that's amazing. So from here, we're starting to meet more characters. I felt like that, maybe it's a plus and minus to it. There's so much leading up to, this is such a short movie, but it felt like there was so much leading up to the excitement of it. I'm saying that before you guys come at me on it.
Yeah, there was quite a buildup. About 80 minutes of buildup.
I think the movie was 80 minutes, bro. Like,
yeah. So 78 minutes of buildup. Sorry.
Here's the thing: if this actually happened, this is the way it would happen.
Yes.
However,
Yes.
this is boring, and it's 2013.
You
We've
didn't
already
think
seen enough found footage films.
think
Yeah.
Anita was interesting?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I like
the-
I like a shitty old lady who's just like, no, I'm not into it. I don't believe. Thank you.
Kiss my ass.
Don't touch Bigfoot's dick, please. Don't jack him off in front of everybody.
This is a family place.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anywho.
You mentioned it at the top a little bit, but just to kind of reiterate, the whole thing here is the couples are going on this trip to try to, first of all, find out where and directions to where the Patterson Gimlet footage was shot in like 1965 or whatever the fuck it was. So that this whole thing is towards that, going in that direction. What year, because I'm pretty sure about this, and I did not do any research to back it up, but maybe you guys did. The Patterson Gimlet footage had been like long debunked, right?
More or less.
Yeah, I mean,
Like so much so that one of them came out and said, no, that was a suit we made.
So I think that for sure, they for sure confirmed it, I believe, within the past 5 or 10 years.
Okay.
So it might have been after this film that one of those guys came out. But yeah, it's for sure one of those guys has come out and said, yeah, there was just whoever in the suit.
Yeah.
Just our buddy Bob or
we had
whatever.
a cool suit we made. Yeah.
yeah.
Which is really funny because the whole thing before that, I remember watching shit when I was little about it, and it was like, no, you can see the muscles ripple below the below the fur. That's how you can tell it's real. And then they interviewed the guys like, nuh-uh.
No.
I just made that. I made it. I mean, it looked good. That's why we made the
you made
movie.
that muscle right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like, the things people will convince themselves of.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
He's like, no, I made it. It's not. That wasn't it.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna keep breezing through this code. Like the next person we meet is that Steve. You pronounced his name, I think, probably more properly. That's Steve's. I typed it as like Stroifer, but I didn't confirm the spelling or anything like that.
Yeah, I just
That's how it sounded.
it just sounds like Strufert to me, just the way looking at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know who's right.
Yeah. So he kind of, the only thing like that notable, I think he also added that he kind of talked about the local lore a little bit, where this like Jerry Crewcast, I noted, like kind of coined the name locally as Bigfoot. And it was related to this like big creature vandalizing their camp, throwing drums. Like it was I think a construction type site going on.
He was throwing barrels and equipment into the river or whatever.
Yeah. And so then he also showed him the type of camera that Roger Patterson used, and it was like super like big and heavy. He also noted that either that he used it or it could be used or was used for like amateur films, including porn. And I was like, cool, sweet. That seems like a lot of weight to,
You know what? That makes a lot of sense that that's a real guy and that's his real shop, because you could tell he had told that series, like he had a shtick ready to go.
Yes.
When people come into the store.
And I think the other thing I love that I think they bring up, because I think Jim and Kelly kind of play this out to a certain extent, is that like curse of Bluff Creek or the curse of Bigfoot. Like you're going to get divorced, your friends will think you're crazy, you spend all your days searching for something you'll never find.
Yeah, that's like Henry Zabrowski talks about that a lot on last podcast.
Yeah,
like you get into all this cryptid stuff and
ufology specifically, where he's just like,
your life is going to fall apart at your own hands, basically, if you do.
Right.
Yeah, he's like, no one, you're not gonna have a life anymore. No one's gonna like you. So, but yeah, and that like he also warns them that like typically like when people like something bad happens, like you're in the middle of the woods and you're unprepared, like you don't have food, you don't have water, you don't have tools, there's no bathroom, and a lot of people going out there just don't have that conceptually in mind.
They think they're going on vacation and it's Epcot Center, but no, it's the wilderness kind of thing.
Yeah. And then we then go on to meet the Tommy Amarone. Is that how again.
Yamarone.
Yeah. I like how they call him the Bob Dylan of the Bigfoot community, because I feel like you could tell how proud and excited he was to like showcase his songs and his music. So I thought that was kind of cute and played.
That was now knowing that was real and that he does this. Like, I appreciate him for doing this. It's like anytime anybody's that passionate about something, like that's always cool to see. But at the same time, they kept him fucking up in there, and it was like so cringy. Also. I
have to wonder, and like Bobcat's a good filmmaker, and he has a great documentary called "Call Me Lucky," which is it has nothing to do with any of this, but I'd say go check it out. It's kind of a rough story though, because it's a lot about abuse in the church. So proceed at your own risk on that. But so. And that's done very straightforward, and it's a very good film. When he's making this film, though, it feels almost like, is he taking the footage of the real people? Are they doing it at face value of trying to make a real documentary and telling them that?
That's what that was a question I wrote down, is like, are they in on the joke or are they not in on the joke?
Because if they're not in on the joke, I don't think that's not a cool way to do film.
No, it's not. And so I don't know. I would like to think that they were in on the joke a little bit, but like,
I'm more in that camp too.
I feel like the guy who owned the bookstore, like, yes, he was definitely in on the joke, I think. Just because he had to talk about, I won't say specific plot points, but I do think that he had to know the score. I guess they could have come in and said, we're a real couple and all that whole thing. But like, if he was there, if Bobcat Goldthwait, who's a very recognizable person, is there, like, anybody who's our age or older is probably going to be able to recognize him on sight.
Well, he actually really isn't, because I mean,
because he has the big beard now and stuff like that.
He did a pretty big change, because if you look at him from the 80s, he's heavier. He's got the mullet. He's got the
but he's got the voice is so recognizable, even though he's not doing the dramatic. No, he doesn't do the voice, but his just regular speaking voice, I feel like, is really recognizable too. I don't know. Yeah, he doesn't do the thing like in real life, but he still has a pretty recognizable voice.
So, but I don't know.
I would like to think he didn't do that, but maybe, I don't know.
I would hope he didn't, but yeah, it's just one of those, like, it's one of those things that bothers me looking at it again. It's like, did they let those people know that this is a goof and it's going to be a horror film? So
for sure. So moving forward, we're meeting the next character, which was Sean L. White Guy Sr., which the name is very interesting to me, especially as like someone representing, I think, like more like the indigenous community for this too. When the Hoopa Reservation tells a Sasquatch story of going to like a Christian camp when she was younger in like the Ferndale area. I'm not super familiar with like how close that is relatively, but they were following her uncle Tiny and like in a different car. So we have two cars and something came between the two cars. It flipped their car, and basically as they're like coming to watch this Bigfoot character coming towards them. So yeah, that's her story.
Yeah. That also seemed kind of, I don't know. It was kind of genuine. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that makes me nervous. Like, maybe he did, because the guy in the shop, he's got a shtick. He is a showman of sorts, a raconteur of sorts, right? But then she seemed like not a professional actor, but maybe she was, and that's what made it better.
No, she's not. I mean, she's listed as herself on IMDb, so I think she's just another member of the Bigfoot community.
For them to put them in there, they would obviously have to sign releases. So
true,
but I mean, I certainly know plenty of people who are involved in documentaries who are not happy about how they were portrayed. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So,
just look at Borat. Like,
yeah. I'd be curious, because I do believe at the end of the day, like, I think they all had to like know it. Probably just legally had to know like what was going on with this. But I think like there could be like dramatization of like, say, her story specifically, if they're trying to put a like, and even the ranger who's what we talk about next, which which I don't remember if he was as himself.
No, he's a real actor. He's in They Live. He's in tons of
Peter
sitcoms.
Jason. Okay, cool. Yeah. So like I think at this point we're slowly building up to the people who like believe and who have experienced this stuff, and then jump into Jim and Kelly kind of on their story. So I guess that's where I stand on it. But so yeah, then we meet the Ranger. Sound like he was like been doing it for like 17 years, and one day his dog ran off, and
but then he was kind of lying about it. Maybe
the
character was like, so you're a ranger? He's like, yeah, but he's like, you can mind if I mention that? He's like, I don't see why it's important. I think the implication was that he was a local kook that was lying about having been a forest ranger or something.
And see, I took it the other way in that he just didn't really want people identifying who he was or trying to lend credence to his story.
Yeah.
Could be.
By him being a ranger.
I think like, and I don't know if this is exactly what you're saying, but also if he's possible, he maybe wants to maintain his own like reputation. If if he would coming out as like looking crazy by talking about these Sasquatch stories, would that taint his like time as a ranger?
Right.
Could be.
Yeah.
So the dog runs off. He hears the dog growling and whimpering. And he comes to find that the dog had died and she was ripped in half. So that's pretty intense. And I almost
not as
cried.
intense as when the dog's ripped in half in my movie, but fine.
I think, okay, we'll
You
talk
never
about
see it. You have
we
to
will
imagine it.
talk.
Whereas my movie shows, it's like, come on.
This movie is really good about like you're creating the story in your head. So for me, I was like in my mind thinking about Bruce getting ripped in half. So that was really terrifying and sad for me. Yours was a stuffed animal.
Here's the thing.
Prove it.
The person in this scene is an actor.
Yeah.
So this was a written, made-up story.
Correct.
Yes.
Also, this movie came out after Suburban Sasquatch. This very easily could be a nod to Suburban Sasquatch.
You
I mean,
already took the words right out of my mouth.
That's a good call. And I'm not upset about that.
Heavily influenced.
I mean, ripping a dog in half is pretty specific. I've
It
only
is.
seen that in 2 movies, Suburban Sasquatch and another one. I think it's called Sour Balls or Dodgeballs, or I don't know. Girls Have Balls. And it's a French film. It's a great French horror film.
French horror film.
Yeah. These girls get lost in the wilds of Germany and are pursued by neo-Nazis, and then somebody rips a dog in half. So it's a great movie. Go check it out. Girls Have Balls. Yeah, Girls Have Balls. Great movie.
Interesting. I'm here for this. Moving on. We now are like getting closer. They're about a day away from going out into the woods. They stop at a bar and there's a guy. I didn't catch all of the lyrics, but they're clear like this dude's song is kind of whack. And
it's like they made a movie and that's all I need to know.
Yep.
It's just like, they said it's true, so I agree. Like it was pretty bad.
Terrible. Yeah.
So they leave and someone had written Leaf on their car, which I feel like it's like they're trying to portray someone as being unintelligent, but it was just an odd. I don't think it was like necessary.
As a joke.
You think he did it to himself?
Yeah.
Oh, like kind of make fun of them?
I took it as it was the guy who comes up and is like, I'm serious. You know, that guy?
Yeah.
Not a joke.
The guy who sang the song. I thought the guy who sang the song did it. I don't know.
No, I just took it that he did it and thought he was being funny.
Okay. I could go with that
could
too.
Be. Like he's so
Definitely.
unfunny. He could have thought that was funny.
Yeah. It's like funny in a mean way. So they're right outside of the hotel. They're like saying goodbye to Bigfoot, kind of in this like mocking, joking way. And they're about to go to the camp. So that musician guy comes out and he's like, it's not a joke. And I feel like like now we're getting to the point where the people are like specifically saying like, don't go there. So it's like now I feel like the town. So this is an odd dynamic. It's like everyone that they're meeting up to this point is just like super hyped on Bigfoot. And then all of a sudden this very specific town is like, no, we know the truth.
The closer you get to to the actual physical location and all that stuff, they start to get the harbingers of doom type characters start to come out, which I won't get ahead, but ultimately I think we're kind of planted as like red herrings, I think.
Sure. they officially get to the Trinity National Forest, which is where they're going to start their expedition. And clearly note that they have no cell phone reception, so that gives us indication there's going to be no calling for help if anything were to go wrong. And they run to this very angry gentle sir on the trail, telling them to go back. And he says some very lovely things to them, like, have a nice slice of pie at the Fuck Off Cafe. I'm like, very cool with that. I like that line. He also threw a rock at them, which again, these are like indicators.
Also, like, run that guy over, right? He's standing right in front of your car.
Yeah.
Like, just, you're definitely smaller than a car.
You know what, Brian? I think you're saying a lot about yourself right now.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Oh, I'll run a motherfucker down. Yeah, for no reason almost. No,
that dude put hands on him first, so.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. Not a big deal, but then the guy slaps him in the chest. I'm gonna run you over.
That would have set me off. That fucking big chief slap, that have a good day sport chief fucking attitude fucking throws me around a bend.
Yeah,
that dude would have been under my tires.
I'm gonna go, okay, thanks, sir, and I'm gonna go reach in the back, get a tire iron, and just lay it upside his big dumb head.
I see you guys and I hear you. I hope you're okay.
The black lager's angering up my blood. I switched beers and it's angering up the blood.
So they decide they're going to keep going along with the trip because Jim knows another way to get down to the trailhead, basically. So they get there. They start going down towards the camp. They run into poop and they're like, ooh, this could be Bigfoot poop. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure it was that angry guy on the trail. That looks probably his shit. Like multiple poops at once.
That was his John Wayne 40 pounds of feces leaving his body as one shit.
Yeah. So clearly Kelly,
that's a really funny like thing to add onto IMDb. Like that was actually that kind of shit.
Can we edit the wiki on this?
Trivia. Fake wiki trivia, yeah.
So Kelly's getting frustrated. It's getting a little bit later. It's getting a little darker. So she basically makes him turn off the camera and obviously tells him that they need to stop and like set up camp. So they set up camp and Jim calls Kelly over to go find a creek, which basically is where like they're close, if not like that's what they're indicating. They're close to where
Again,
Bigfoot
same
was.
creek as in my movie. Yep.
Yeah. Hey, it lore is the lore. This is what we got. Jim takes a naked swim in there. They get back to the camp, and this is where we get kind of these like Blair Witchy type things going on, where socks in the tree, and the camp is basically like destroyed at that point. Mm-hmm. They reset up camp and they go to bed. And then we kind of jump to Kelly like freaking out because she went to go piss and she heard something that sounded like it was behind her, and it's basically a raccoon. This is where we talk about Jim had asked Kelly to marry him, and we go through that. Mm-hmm. I felt like some of their relationship stuff was like just telling us like their dynamic versus actually important to this movie.
Yeah,
like
there was definitely, you know what though, I can appreciate that they added that in there because I think it did add to the, I mean, it was after the fact, obviously, but it did make their relationship make more sense.
It also could make you care a little bit. So like, I see it. Yeah. I just was like,
yeah, it's the one thing that like makes it more of a movie because I mean, even though I said like, if this is the way it happened, this is how it would happen, you probably wouldn't see all this like relationship stuff though. Sure. If this happened in the real world, like you would get like a bunch of in jokes that you wouldn't understand, and that's about it. And like there would be fights, but like this relationship conflict that they create is obviously manufactured for the film, and it is meant to make you care a little bit, but it also plays onto the themes. It plays onto like how the film ends, as well as that little thing you get in the bookstore of like, you know, if you pursue this, you're doomed to lose your relationships and things like that. So.
Right, for sure.
I took it almost as like it was a weird kind of role reversal type thing because up until this point, like she's portrayed as the, you know, she's obviously the aspiring actor, wants to move to LA, and he's like the, you know, kind of like he's cynical of that, but believing of supernatural stuff. So
Right.
like he's kind of the weird delusional one. And then obviously as we're getting further and further into this, and it comes to light after this when they wake up in the morning and they're panicking and lost, and he's still insisting on filming, and she gets increasingly pissed at him. It started to like tell a tale of like, no, this guy's not only is he a little bit fucking unhinged about this stuff, but also he is willing to put himself and his loved ones in danger to make this movie and everything a success. And like for him to be filming, and even later on when he like won't turn the light off in the in the tent, and he's like doing this big life event, which is proposing to her as a almost like a add-on to his weird Bigfoot shit.
Yeah.
Right.
It just was like, this guy is like almost dangerously insane to a certain extent, where like she is like, oh, I am in the woods and I am full on alone here.
Yeah. And it makes sense that he would propose to her though.
Yeah.
Because like this is his big thing. He wants to incorporate everything together.
Yeah.
Because it's taking his big love of Bigfoot and then he wants to incorporate her into all of it. You know?
But she's clearly not into it.
Right.
So it's like so ham-fisted and so selfish and so like almost borderline sociopathic.
I would say definitely narcissistic for sure.
Narcissistic is a better way of putting it, yes. More narcissistic to the point where like you were about to inflict this very awkward moment on a person during a trip that she kind of doesn't even want to be on and is on basically as a favor to you. You know what I mean? Like it's just, he's all mixed up.
Yeah.
In a not cool way.
For sure. For sure. All right. I don't know where to go from that because that was very deep.
We went
that was
on
very emotional
deep
cut.
Deep cut.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, it helps your film though, Meg, because it does have a good psychology to it.
It does.
It does.
Yes, it makes you think
because it didn't for an hour.
Right. For an hour, we watched a bunch of Bigfoot interviews, and then it's also just presented in like severely long 2-take, or just a severely long 1-take of a 2-shot.
Yeah.
Oh, that was like, wild.
Yeah. So, once after all that happens, but they ended up like, hooking up, they shut it down, but they get woken up in the middle of the night because they start hearing noises. So Jim starts hearing,
shut it down.
Hook it up, shut it down.
Hook it up, shut it down.
It's not a song I would actually want to hear.
It should be like, shut it down, hook it up, not vice versa. Sounds pretty anticlimactic.
No, that sounds right. Hook it up, and then you shut it down. You bust nuts and you go sleep.
See, I thought it was hook it up. No, been shut down.
Guys, it's a club song, and I'm not here for it.
Shut down.
I do. I'll never mind. I'm gonna go there. Nope.
No,
I'm not encouraging this. Shut up.
Curious to see where you were going with that.
I was gonna go back into the film. I think that's what I was gonna do. Yes. All right. So
as we see Meg's relatives walking around behind her.
Yeah, that was more so I was shutting it down.
I know. I could tell. You were like looking over your shoulder, like the thing I'm about to say, I'm not going to say because my grandma's right there.
Grandma's right there, and she can't hear the other side of the conversations either.
She can't hear what we're saying, but she can hear what I say. So I shouldn't say something about fucking.
Can't talk about bursting nuts in front of Grandma.
All right, guys, moving on.
She can't hear what we're saying, but I can see her right back.
So the next, I feel like almost the next, I don't know, 20 minutes of the movie is, I feel like just it's very drawn out, but like the same thing is happening, and it like I think builds up a lot of tension for them, where they're slowly being stalked by these Sasquatches like in the woods. They hear the whooping noises, they're hearing other vocalization, they're hearing a woman cry at one point.
Yeah, that was creepy.
They're bringing in other stuff like the knocks and like the rock throwing, and so this stuff is just slowly happening over and over again, and they can't really fall asleep. to the point where one of them actually touches the tent and freaks them the fuck out. And they're like, okay, we need to get out of here. So right as like sun's about to come up, they decide to shut down camp and they're going to be leaving. But what happens is, and I'm trying to think of exactly what this reminded me of, but it reminded me of a movie that was like a found footage film where they're almost in this like all of a sudden this alternative reality where like, I don't know, maybe there's still something a little bit, not mystical isn't the right word, but there is like a weird presence though too. Like, you know, they're walking and they find out that like 3 hours later they're back to the same spot. So I don't know if that was just
it
coincidence.
was Blair Witch. I mean, it was basically the plot of Blair Witch. In a sense. Yeah. Not plot. No, that's not fair to say.
But like a similar way like that. Definitely a similar idea.
That one thing, which is a relatively small thing, but obviously is an inciting incident, happens in Blair Witch. Yeah. So
the next night when they like basically are now stuck in the woods, they didn't set up their tent. They didn't get comfortable. They're just like, they're now near the creek. They get kind of startled off. So now they're basically out in the open. They're still being stalked by these Sasquatches. They eventually see a woman who was the same woman who was on like a missing persons poster. And I had to like read a little bit more into this to like fully grasp what's going on, which is why it plays into that maybe there is a little bit more mysticism around these Sasquatch characters where they're taking women or people, could be men too, hostage, or perhaps maybe the town like gives them women from time to time. You know, I kind of feel that way relating to the guy that was on the trail. Same with the guy that was like in town. Like it almost felt cult-like. It felt like these Sasquatches were something like, we exist in your world and we're going to make sure you stay happy by feeding you people when you want them. And I think Jim and Kelly coming in was like, they were then going into their territory. And so now they're like, now you're ours, basically. I don't know how you guys took all of that.
Yeah, it was definitely a little ambiguous at the end, which I did not dislike. I thought it was fine. But like, so I guess even kind of taking a step back, like I in the moment, the whole long, like sustained shot that Steve was talking about, which it had to be 10 minutes. Like it was long. It was, yeah. Really long. Was in the moment, I found it very frustrating, but looking back on it was actually I couldn't name another shot like that in another movie. So it was extremely unique in that sense. And they did a great job of maintaining the tension, even though you were like, why are you... You know why. You know, they were supposed to be kind of frozen in fear. They didn't know what to do. But the whole time you're going like, of course, as the armchair quarterback, you're like, start a fire, be loud, scream, arm yourself, do something. And they're just sitting there. You know, imagine being woken out of a dead sleep to this mayhem happening. You know what I mean? Around your tent. So it was a great build up. It never, while they were in the tent, it never really paid off. But I kind of thought that was... Like it was what ultimately happened, meaning they lasted through the night, woke up the next day, and then tried to hike out but couldn't. Like the fact that it continued and they didn't just die that first night was kind of like inconvenient, which made it feel more realistic in a way. Like it didn't feel like if somebody was making a movie, they would have just had it all be the pinnacle in that night. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like you kind of mentioned it there, but I feel like there is like this arc in, I think maybe either films like this or Steve, maybe you can speak more to it, but like they basically went through this entire arc of like fight, flight, or fawn, and basically that like freeze moment. It's like, yeah, we don't know what to do. Holy shit, like deer in the headlights. To the point where they're like, let's get the fuck out of here. And then I think the last one being like, there's nothing else we can do besides try to protect ourselves and fight this back. But, you know, knowing that there's like just doom at the end of it.
Yeah.
The only thing that bothered me, because they did, you know, they knew that when it touched the tent or threw something or whatever, she would scream and it would run away and then come back. Like that happened for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You got to assume they'd be smart enough to realize like, oh, we're startling it to a certain extent and it's feeling us out. So if we can demonstrate that we are like a danger, maybe it'll fuck off permanently.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
like, why wouldn't you start getting, screaming, start a fire? I feel like Bigfoot probably not cool with fires. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Probably
You know
not,
what I mean? Yeah, like start a big ass fire in the woods.
Mhm.
Start a goddamn forest fire. I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Whoa.
do it up. Do it up. Like, I would be burning everything.
We should be conscious about saying that type of stuff because forest fires are real in California.
I
and-
understand that, but if there's a goddamn Sasquatch at my tent, I'm building a big ass fire. Like,
Between me, Bigfoot, and some trees. Yeah.
yeah. I'm burning some fucking trees. But anyway, I that part was like, okay, fine, whatever. Like, people, you don't know how you're going to react in that environment until you're in that environment. So I get it.
Sure.
The thing that bothered me was when the next day they had a whole day to plan stuff and figure it out. And they acted like the sun was only up for 20 minutes. Like, I get it. They hiked and hiked and hiked, and then they got turned around somehow, whatever. But like, that's a whole day. And you ended up sitting in the dark with, you didn't build a shelter. You didn't have a weapon. You literally were just like, walked around for the entire day and then said, well, fuck me, I'm gonna sit in the dark and wait till I get eaten.
And even basic survivalist skills, which Bryce Jim should have, as somebody who says he wants to live off the land and all that. Basic survivalist skills says when you find water, go downstream.
Yeah,
because you're almost always going to find town. So like, even though they got lost for a minute, they still found the creek bed again. So just go downstream. It'll
walk
hook
the
up.
Fucking creek.
Hey, I'm gonna make the narrative here, and I'm gonna say the creek is going both ways.
That's the mystical
Squatch Creek goes both ways.
It literally flows uphill in both directions. Got it. Yeah, that was the whole thing I was saying. Is like, you found the creek.
Yeah,
you might. It's like, that is almost as good as finding a road. Probably better than finding a road. Just walk in that direction.
Yeah.
But
whatever. Yeah, that I found that infuriating. I mean, I get that whole point of that long segment, and it's just like, it's the one thing that kind of makes this film stick out in a way, because like you said, Brian, you hardly ever see like one takes that long.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other thing that just really drives me up a wall is like, we never see the Bigfoot. So if we never see the Bigfoot, then you have to do other things to make the Bigfoot more than it is. And they don't, because they just use a bunch of stock sound.
Yeah.
Because it's stock lion roars and other big cat noises, and I think some primates. Yeah. That, like, some ape calls. So it's like, these are all things you would hear or have heard in the past, especially the lion roars. Like, you've heard those in movies 100 times over. Yeah. And so that just takes you out of it immediately, because you're like, oh, what? That's like... I've heard that everywhere. I've heard that in Doom.
The whooping, the whooping thing was okay. And it was fine. And then the cry. But then, you ultimately are like, guys, you're dragging me through the mud here for so long, and I'm sticking with you. Yeah. But you better fucking pay off. And then there's one jump scare and no payoff.
Yeah, a jump scare of a big-titted lady.
Yeah. Like, which normally I'm like, no, listen, I'm on board for big boobies. And then it's like, no. These are scary boobies. And you're like, oh, okay. And then
these are terror
over.
boobs.
Terror boobs. And then I'm like, all right.
Terror boobs.
Yeah.
All right.
So, anyway, but yeah, the scariest part for me was Jim gets clearly dispatched pretty quickly, but manages to hold on to the camera as he's being like, but you hear like a gurgle, he's getting all fucked up. Yeah. And then you hear in the back, Kelly?
Yeah.
Oh, he kept calling her Kel. No, he kept calling her Babe, which after a while I wanted to stick my thumbs in my eyes. But her in the background screaming and then truly being... she's on her own. You know what I mean? Like, that was rough. That was creepy. Yeah. And
kind of like what you guys were talking about with, like, I think Jim, I think there was like just this helplessness that they're like, there's no way out. And maybe they thought with the way they edited it that you just assumed that they were literally just going in circles the whole time until they got to a point where they couldn't anymore. Granted, they had plenty of time to make this a longer than an hour and 20-minute film to make that seem a little bit longer. But I get what you're saying. But yeah, and that's where I'm like towards the end hearing Kelly scream with us being exposed to that woman. I think she was basically kind of taken in. And the way it was described in some of the writing I looked was like she was like the forest bride for these like Sasquatches kind of thing.
Yeah, that was I was taking it as is like she wife of Sasquatch now? Like is she, you know what I mean? Is that what we're supposed to think is happening?
I'm like kind of cool with that.
A quick shout out to our friends at they called this a movie. Yeah. I was posting about our Bigfoot movies, and they said their favorite Bigfoot movie is Son of Bigfoot because it insinuates a human woman fucked a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
To create the Son of Bigfoot.
I saw that one. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, then that means Willow Creek must be the prequel to Son of Bigfoot.
It's in that same universe. Yeah.
It's the same universe because that's how you get Son of Bigfoot. They take forest brides and impregnate them, and you get more Bigfoots.
I will.
Can I say that?
Yeah.
She's standing there, like she's obviously just like she is a captive of the Bigfoots in some capacity. The big feet, excuse me. And she's standing there, and of course it's cold. They keep saying how cold it is, and she's out there, you know, basically butt ass naked, boobies out, but underwear on.
I don't know.
Why?
I mean, you know what? I was going to try to make something up, and I just don't have anything.
Well, she's clearly been gone for a while, because if we are meant to believe that she is the woman that they saw smiling in the missing persons poster at the restaurant, then she's been gone for a while. It just feels far-fetched that the Bigfoots, even if, and listen, not to get too graphic here, but if we are meant to believe that she is which I don't know if you read this, but I have taken this phrase forest bride and I'm going to run with it. And I don't feel great about that phrase. If we are meant to believe that that is what she is dealing with, I feel like you ain't going to last that long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With a bunch of damn Sasquatches.
Maybe
you know what I mean?
Sasquatch is only in the mouth stuff.
Oh my God. Okay, actually, here's my theory. Okay. Nope. Same here. But I'm rolling. I was gonna say that she was topless because Bigfoot looks topless, so maybe that's what they were comfortable with. However, maybe
Bigfoot is also bottomless.
Maybe it was easier because if she's just standing there, they probably can just like titty fuck her like right then and there. Like.
But I like specifically her. Like
any of their forest brides.
But they didn't establish that they're taking all big-titted women.
Any of the forest brides. Oh my God! Now I'm imagining it's like the brides of Dracula, from the 1932 or whenever it was, the original one. But instead, it's just a bunch of dirty big-titted.
Like instead of rising from coffins, it's just big-titted women getting out of piles of leaves.
50-gallon drums. Yeah. They just roll out of a barrel. Oh man,
that's
guys,
too funny.
Bigfoot is a pervert.
He gets down. That's for sure.
Hold on. We'll get into it in Brian's movie, but there is precedence for this now. And this again might be another Suburban Sasquatch reference in Willow Creek, but Bigfoot tries to take a big-titted woman in Brian's movie.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
He doesn't try. He is successful.
Well, yeah, you're right. He does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talking about the cop's wife or whatever?
Yeah, the cop's wife. Yeah, the whole. Willow Creek is just taking Suburban Sasquatch.
Steve, I see what you're trying to do right now,
Sasquatch.
dude. I see it. I'm just not going to buy it. I'm just not going to do it.
Your movie's derivative, Meg, of Suburban Sasquatch.
I'm pretty sure they're all derivative at this point, guys.
All right. Speaking Is there anything else you wanted to add to the Willow Creek mythos here?
Actually, yes. My one last argument was that my movie was the only one that actually had a live musical performance, and I think that makes it stand above the rest.
It also is the only one that had 0 Sasquatches.
Yes.
No, I'm not biting on that one at all.
0.0 Sasquatches. If we were doing
I don't feel hurt
scores,
anymore, Brian.
If we were going back to horse scores, how many Sasquatch points could you give a movie about Sasquatch that has no visual Sasquatches?
But we still get all the sounds, so mine's probably had the most.
You don't get the sound. You don't get the sounds. You get sounds of an animal library that somebody downloaded.
Yeah.
But I will say it gets at least half star for the Bigfoot statues.
They released like 4 big statues though. They actually went to a place where all of these stories are based out of. So I think that deserves at least 3.5 horse stars at this point.
That's aggressive number of stars.
That's like saying you went to the Kentucky Derby, but in like January.
Right, no, but it just feeds into the lore of the actual Sasquatch. The lore of the actual Sasquatch, they were trying to make it as real as possible, where you guys were like, we're in Austin. When in, like, I'm saying hill country, so outside of like Austin, that's in my mind, that's where they were. But so I'm assuming. I'm like, how often are you talking about hearing lore in Texas for Sasquatch?
Plenty. There's all the Boggy Creek movies.
Yeah.
All the Boggy Creek movies. That's
then
all
this should have
Texas.
been a Boggy Creek movie.
Listen, but also, Westchester, not that far from the Pine Barrens, which is where the Jersey Devil lives, which is a close, maybe first cousin of Sasquatch.
Could be friends of.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, listen. It's the main event, boys and girls. Here we come with the film, the myth, the legend that is Suburban Sasquatch. This is one of those ones, along with like maybe, the Greasy Strangler or something like that, where if somebody's like, just give me a batshit one, you know what I mean? I'll throw this their direction. And I'm undefeated. Nobody has ever come back and been like, why did you do that to me? You know what I mean?
You're like, I gave you exactly what you wanted.
Yeah. And I'm not going to go, plot point by plot point, because there is not really a strong plot to this movie. I would categorize this movie, free on Tubi, by the way, that it's almost something like the book, like it reminds me of Naked Lunch by William Burroughs, in that you can just pick it up, open, and start reading. It's not a linear thing. You can literally watch it starting at any point in the movie. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Pick it up, put it down, open it to any part, and enjoy it in the same capacity.
What movie did I just have I think it was the one that got bestowed upon me that had no like linear, or it made no sense. What was it?
Boxer's Omen?
No. I think it was for like one. Maybe it was for a Showdown or something. Maybe it was like,
yeah, that one does.
Anywho. No, definitely had feelings of that.
Yeah, this one. I mean, it obviously has a story, but it's not coherent in any way, shape, or form. So let me jump into it. Let me explain. If you haven't seen Suburban Sasquatch, this isn't even gonna ruin it. Like, spoiler alert, yeah, but like it's not gonna change. You have to see it to experience its majesty.
You have to see it to believe it has a new meaning after watching this. You won't believe it.
This is like the B movie. Like, this is one of the top, probably the 3 movies that I think of when I think of like something that was born to be on like MST3K or Riff Tracks or something like that. Like, this movie was born of that, but it's almost doesn't need it because it does everything itself. Yeah. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one doesn't need it so much because it is so full. Like, they talk every frame is a painting.
Yeah.
And
yes, I wrote that pretty much.
Every frame of this film is a mistake.
Yeah. We could honestly take 30 minutes to talk about every single scene in this movie.
Probably, yeah.
There's just it is a perfect shitstorm.
It is. And there are so few filmmakers like this, but like there's a handful of filmmakers, and it's always born of a bit of narcissism, a bit of self-confidence, a bit of delusion, and that's how you get like Tommy Wiseau and Neil Breen, and I believe it's James Nguyen, who did Birdemic. And it's just like, and then there's a handful of these that also happened in the 80s. But it doesn't
have the cynical angle of like Uwe Boll.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're like,
Uwe Boll is just a piece of shit trying to make money. Right. These people are trying to make their dream.
This cost him money. Yes. David Wascavage, who is the director of this movie, undoubtedly lost a lot of money on this. Oh, initially,
I wouldn't say a lot. I wouldn't even say you lost a lot.
No, a lot. No, maybe like a couple grand or something.
Yeah,
but like since then, he's probably made it back because now it's on like DVD and stuff like that, and it's got like a cult following. But like, this was not a get rich quick scheme. This was not anything like that. This was 100% the type of person it takes to put your head down and run through every imaginable wall that is there. And there for good reason, and you run through it and you still finish a film is such a rare thing, because 99.9% of films that are this horrible and entertainingly so never happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because why would they? But this guy put his head down and ran through every brick wall in front of him and finished a film and actually released it.
Yeah.
Which is what makes it so special.
I feel like though, if you would have told me that this was a film that someone made in high school, like I would have completely believed you as well. Yeah.
Yes. This is a film that me and my friends would have made when we were 12.
Yes.
Except for he's a middle-aged man. That's the most interesting thing about it. Like, it is such a mystery. So, I mean, I guess we should say, like, it's called Suburban Sasquatch. The plot is a Sasquatch shows up in the suburbs and starts killing people. And then there is a mystical, like, indigenous Native American woman, question mark, that is battling her, that is battling Sasquatch, who is also like a mystical ghost being that is also being pursued by a wannabe journalist who only owns one shirt. Like it's very, very strange. It really doesn't make any type of cohesive sense.
Who apparently writes not for any real paper, but writes for the school paper, because that's where it's filmed, in a high school. Office.
It's clearly a high school. So much so as through the window, you can see the football team practicing.
Yeah.
In the background of this thing. Yeah. Okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Everybody talks about the football team in the background, but nobody talks about the crutch. That's just... There's just a crutch. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
There's just a crutch. It's just set up.
You guys making a dynamic
like
scene, okay? I feel like it's really adding a new layer to the scene, and I'm here. I'm not asking questions anymore. This movie is not for questions.
This movie was a like straight to video shot type of movie in 2004, but somehow looks way older than 2004. It's directed by this guy named David Wascavage. No relation, as far as I know, in this dimension to David Muscavage, who runs, as we've not talked about in the past, who is the head of Scientology, who was L. Ron Hubbard's right-hand man, who took over Scientology and controls the lives of Tom Cruise and all the people who are, and John Travolta and all those people. I'm pretty sure he is the David Muscavage of a different dimension, and then came into this dimension, and this is how he chose to manifest himself. So this is very strange because, like I said before, there is a simultaneously shot documentary about the making of Urban Sasquatch that he made thinking it was going to be like part of the DVD extras, but it's 100% earnest. Like he is talking about themes and things he's trying to accomplish in this movie, like he's fucking Martin Scorsese in this film. But then later on, when you see more recent interviews with him, he tries to play it off where, like, the one with Hack the Movies we talked about, he starts talking about how, like, oh, he used to watch movies like Blood Diner and Microwave Massacre and, like, named them as some of his influences. And it was like, maybe, yes, but that's not what you were going for.
Right.
Like, you might be pretending now that that's what you were going for, but that is 100% not what you were going for. His first feature, which I have not seen, but I've seen a lot of clips from, was a movie called Fungicide, which is about like human-sized killer mushrooms. And he kind of plays it off like it's a joke, but it's very clearly that it wasn't at the time. Which is frankly what's so endearing about it. Like, this is why I love these types of movies. They kind of, like, through the delusion and the weird delusions of grandeur and things like that he's experiencing, they kind of empower you. I don't know about you, but for me, it's almost like kind of empowering to see people so not afraid to feel the effects of failure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it is one of these things that's like, it demonstrates to you the baby step effect of, like, you might want to do something and you might be woefully underqualified to do it, but if you just take a baby step in that direction, then it leads to another baby step, which leads to another baby step, and then maybe eventually you'll be a filmmaker. But, like, obviously this guy, it didn't work out for him that way, but you get what I mean. Like, it's a very, like, almost empowering thing in that sense. It's like, we're in a safe space. You've made a terrible movie. I still like it and want to watch it, you know? So, yeah, the documentary that came along with it, like I said, it is dead ass serious. Like, he is not playing, unless it is this very, Steve, I think you mentioned this maybe in the last episode, unless it is this, like, incredibly long con, you know, Andy Kaufman type of bit that he's been doing for decades.
Yeah. So I have to wonder, and it's because, so I also watched that same interview he did with Hack the Movies, who I guess is also Pennsylvania based, but
he is. Yeah, I think he's a Philly guy, or maybe New Jersey. I don't know.
Because he was talking about how he is in one of the films, like, as a kid, but he's talking to Wiscavige about how, like, Wiscavige made this film, and it came about in this time in, you know, the 2004 2005 area where there were really unscrupulous companies putting together DVDs of just, like, the worst movies, and they will, like, sell
compilation them. DVDs. Yeah,
and they'll sell, you know, like, 7 movies for $10, and you go, oh shit, I'm getting 7 movies, but then one of them, it's all this dog shit. So I'm wondering, like, if he got distribution and then made that behind the scenes thing and then made it serious just as a thing to, like, he thought he was, oh, I'm a serious filmmaker now, I have to have a serious behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was part of it.
I feel like we might be on the right track, because when he was talking about the movie during that Hack the Movies interview, he was talking about how, like, he was under a time crunch. And I was like, why would he be under a time crunch unless he already had an agreement?
Right.
So, like, I feel like he was just trying to make it passable.
Yeah.
So that they didn't go, give us the check back. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I can absolutely see that being the case, but it is just so absolutely inept at every point that it just makes it so, it is a perfect shitstorm of a movie.
Strangely, as for bad as the CGI effects are in this film, they're actually the least inept part.
Oh yeah,
because he did it all himself, and it's all like pre-Blender, pre-After Effects stuff. Like, he built, like, crazy wireframes all by himself in some fucking product that he bought, and the product came with a tutorial and taught him how to do this stuff. And then it's like, it's not terrible. It's probably better than some of the shit I could do.
It's like it's bad, but it's like, it is impressive that he did that himself and made it even vaguely cohesive. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, there's some stuff on, like, Birdemic that is, you know, again, similar type of, like, early CGI software that it was just like, they might as well have took a shit on the screen. It's so stupid and doesn't make sense. Like, his stuff is, at least for the most part, cohesive. Those parts, like the part where she throws the 2 hatchets and they stick in the log. I was like, he obviously wanted that to be something different, but it looked like what he meant it to look like, at least.
Because again, he built all that himself. Whereas like Birdemic, you just mentioned, that was all just like plug-in. Like James Nguyen found fucking stock footage of CGI birds and then copy and pasted it 3 times. Yeah. And that's why you have the same fucking motion over and over again, because he never added animation to it. Whereas with Scavenge, he built the fucking animation. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah. The fungicide one, and I've only seen clips from it, but there's some stuff in there that looks unbelievably good about like there's a mushroom that spits out a skeleton, and I really want to watch it.
Yeah. And apparently he had the reason why he built all the giant mushroom CGI for one scene was because the actors couldn't be in the suit at the time. Because the actors who would usually be in the suit had to be out of the suit, so he just made CGI versions so they could all be out of the suit.
Yeah.
That's fucking funny.
Yeah, it is just held together by dental floss, the whole thing. But yeah, the actors in this movie are mostly, friends and relatives of his. He does talk about how this was the first time he ever actually had discussion, because I think he posted on Craigslist and he got a woman who was a model or something to actually lobbied to be in the movie, and then he had to talk to her agent and to play the part of the Native American warrior, and then it ended up falling apart and they ended up not getting her. But it's just you could tell he was just fake it till he makes it type of mentality from square one. But so the opening scene right away is just incredible. I mean, we just hit if it wasn't as good, people wouldn't remember it, but the first scene is so ridiculous that it just sticks and you're like, all right, I'm along for the ride now, which it is. First of all, you get it's clearly daytime. They're trying to pretend it's nighttime right off the bat. And then you just get this incredible range of Pennsylvania accents in the same film or in the same shot. And then the one, I forget exactly what the line was, but it's a couple driving in the car, and you get this thing where she's basically like, oh my gosh, something just jumped out in front of the car. She says she says the word something, and it's just something.
Yeah.
something jumped out in front of the car. And then of course it is, as you might imagine, Sasquatch, who just rips her boyfriend's arms off and just starts throwing limbs in the air like a fucking Looney Tunes cartoon. There's CGI blood spray.
Doesn't he explode his head basically smush it?
Yeah, squishes his head, CGI blood spray, and then you get the first glimpse of the ape costume. And the ape costume, it has, listen, there's no way to sugarcoat it. It has giant breasts.
Yeah, that's my first note right here.
Buxom, just big giant boobies with big giant nipples. You can't look at the costume and not immediately notice that. It is the most noticeable part of the costume by far. And it's a very bold decision that clearly pays off in a lot of ways. Also, I would like, guys, and I just want this to be a verbal commitment here. I would like the CGI eagle to that scene to be played at my funeral, if you guys could.
Sure.
Just over top of Freebird playing.
No doves, just a CGI eagle. Yes, I got
just
you.
A CGI eagle.
I'll see if I can get the original 3D green screen, and then I'll just put it over other footage.
If we could do that, that would be lovely. And then you get this Native American woman who I think they said she is Mexican American. I believe her last name's Perez or something like that.
In the film or in real life?
In real life.
Oh, I thought he said she was Hawaiian.
No. Oh, well, so the woman, I think what I determined was the woman that he tried to get.
Oh, the model. Okay.
The model was Hawaiian.
Okay.
But then she didn't bite. because the agent was like, what? No, I don't want this to happen. And then I think the woman who ultimately got cast, I think she's Mexican American. Okay. Because, like I said, just judging from the last name Perez. But in any case, there's this very clunky scene of her with her like grandfather, who is like supposedly like the tribe elder. There is a lot of parts which I'm just going to gleam over because this would be 5 hours of me talking about this movie. The dialogue between her and the main character and anybody else is so long and drawn out, but like just so inept and strange that you can't take your eyes off of it. It's just like a beautiful car accident that you're watching. So I won't even go into it, but this is the type of reason that you need to watch this movie, is to get the full effect. It has such a weird vibe to it. I do very much appreciate things like there's these two meathead cops with like one of them has a Philly accent, one of them has a Jersey accent, I think. And they're just like investigating a crime scene, like talking about it and stuff, but their guns are still drawn. I don't know why, but their hats don't match the rest of their uniforms, which I very much appreciate.
And this is where I was going to bring up the whole gun situation, because I felt like at one point in the scene, they clearly were just holding the guns because that's like what indicated that they were cops somehow.
Yeah, and they also didn't have a holster, so they just had to hold it.
Yeah.
You know?
And because also the costumes aren't cop costumes, they're security guard costumes.
They're clearly like mall security guard costumes. Yes.
I don't even know if they're mall security. I think it's like Party City. Like
Party City security guards. Yeah. So there's this journalist that we interact with, who's essentially the main protagonist of the film, which his name is Rick. Is it Rick?
Yep. Good old Rick.
So, good old Rick. Rick is an aspiring journalist that is apparently employed by a local newspaper, but doesn't write anything, and is
he's got big city dreams, guys.
He has big city dreams. He wants to this is his ticket to his Pulitzer. Which is a Philadelphia Pulitzer, apparently.
And you gonna get one of them Pulitzers?
He's like, this is the ticket to my Pulitzer. But
got my Pulitzer and a water race.
Yeah, he is also apparently a CSI like person. Like when they find a grisly crime scene, he's the first person the cops call for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why. It's never really explained. And he's not even really a journalist. He's just like a aspiring reporter that may or may not be already employed by a newspaper. I don't know.
I feel like the reason why he's called to crime scenes is just because cops want to like bully him and like also be like, "Hey Rick, you won't see something fucked up."
Yeah. Hey Rick, boy, I got some shit to show you. Come down here, Rick. I'll show you.
Hey, it's crazy.
Yeah. But you get what is probably the most famous scene in the movie very early on. And again, that's what cements a movie like this as a like cult favorite, is you have to lure people in. You have to reel them in fast to keep them engaged, or else they would just turn off this piece of shit movie.
Right.
So this is one of the best things that happens, is that this scene is early on, and it's so there's two characters, three including Sasquatch. It's Dave and his best friend, not Dave, and they are just in the creek fishing. And first of all, you get the line, "Hey, stop farting around," which is a throwback to a very early Halloween is Forever episode when we were introduced to the phrase farting around. So this is coming full circle. And they are fishing. They do a couple fart jokes, and then Sasquatch just walks down out of the woods, rips out Dave's heart, feeds it to him, jams it in his mouth, and then rips off his arm and uses it with deadly accuracy as a projectile to kill not Dave. But he doesn't kill him. He hits him with an arm at full throttle, whips it at him, assumingly kills him. He is then floating in the creek in like 18 inches of water, floating dead. But then later, we're jumping ahead a little bit, wakes up underwater and just goes about his business.
Yep, not dead.
Like he
not
kills him. He's floating on his back, doing the kind of the dead man float. But then later on, he's floating face down. So you're like, oh, a corpse floating in a creek.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of goes like, like his alarm went off. He gets out of the creek. He has literally been sleeping underwater, it seems like. And
That's not how unconscious works. You don't stop breathing. You don't become watertight.
He goes about his business. So he comes back from having drowned, wakes up underwater, just casually enters this cave before being found by a cop in a park bathroom. I don't know. Then there's a great bit of dialogue, which I'm not going to go through because, again, it's for you to discover. But the dialogue in this movie overall is just, it's a thing of beauty. Like there are lines such as we talked about, this is my best shot at a Pulitzer, and just a million other ones. But the journalist, so cut to the journalist and his editor ? Which are this is in the high school having this dialogue, and like we talked about, you can clearly see like the local high school football team practicing outside the window. Like it does not look like a newsroom at all.
No.
It looks like a high school classroom. And then again, some other unnamed victims. This is what I mean when I say you can just jump to any point in this movie and start watching it, and it's fine. You're not going to have a problem. You can just pick it up where it left off, start it from the beginning, start it from 80% done, go through the last 20%, and then start it over. It doesn't matter. It's a loop. You can just keep it going. But Tina and her, what I only described as her jort mate, get their limbs ripped off and then eaten. And this is a theme throughout the movie. Sasquatch loves to rip limbs off. He loves to eat those limbs. He loves to consume entire human corpses, but there is always a surprising lack of blood. Like he will have consumed an entire body in a parking lot, and it is just dry. It's like it disappeared. And I guess you could explain it as it is, he is supernatural, which we'll come to realize here in a moment, but it is, there's a lot of Halloween Superstore limbs that have been purchased and are occasionally dipped in fake blood, but they clearly had a very tight budget when it came to the fake blood. Because there's very little of it present in the movie. Like at one point he's eating a woman's guts out of her stomach, and there's what I would say conservatively is like a softball-sized circle of blood on her shirt, and that's it.
Was that the scene too when every time he like chomped down, it was like this very like aggressive soundscape or whatever?
It sounded like somebody eating Captain Crunch.
Yeah,
it was so funny. Yeah. We should probably say at this point that there is a track that I think I heard in the interview, the way it was described was he was like trying to figure out how he was going to do the sound effects of the Sasquatch. And he went through like, different animal sounds, and he just didn't find anything that he wanted. So he just basically did this into a microphone. And then looped it. Didn't
even pitch shift it or nothing. You can pitch shift it and slow it down and get like a more monster sound. Nope,
just him going. So every time the Sasquatch shows up on screen, that 4-second loop, 4-second clip is just looped. Except for occasionally when he gets shot with an arrow, it'll kind of go weird digitized. So this is what I equated that to. It's like in Metal Gear Solid when the cyborg ninja, aka Gray Fox, gets like kind of starts to wig out. Like that's what it reminds me of. Like when he gets hit and starts to wig out.
Magic makes him spaz.
So Tina, they kind of get eaten again. This is the next body, the next crime scene that these two meathead cops, who every time they were on screen, it felt like a porno was about to start. Was it just me?
A little bit. Like the one guy, the skinnier guy, definitely feels like a porn actor. The bigger guy is every bouncer outside of like strip clubs and shitty dive bars ever.
Yeah.
He's literally has, and you see in his like origin story flashback, his wife or girlfriend, significant other, whatever, had been taken by, Phantom Sasquatch, and he has a literal barbed wire tattoo around his arm.
Yeah. Does he also have an eagle's tattoo on the other arm? An eggs? Does he have an eggs tattoo?
Man.
I'm gonna go look.
I hope, and it just says like, I
thought he just had an
birds
eggs
fly
tattoo
or something. I gotta check it out.
I
missed that.
I feel like whenever I see that, I just instantly think he just in his mind is just like, fuck bitches, look at my muscles. That's it. Like,
he is just a big walking human ham. Like he's
While we're talking about that scene of like his wife getting taken, his wife gets stolen, and he goes to run to get a gun, and it looks like he's never run in his life. Not making fun of him for his size, but as if he literally has never run ever.
How many times a year do you think a bouncer has to run?
Yeah.
Not a lot. Not a lot. Yeah, he's not meant for quick. He's meant for taking up space and twisting people's arms. Like that is what he's built to do.
Yeah.
He's not meant for quick bursts of speed. He's meant to just twist people's arms and hold them down till the cops come. There's a spot where the Native American warrior woman, she has this bow and arrow, and she's constantly shooting Sasquatch every time he shows up, and then CGI blood sprays out, and it looks, even in one instance, it looks like straight up, like, it doesn't even look like blood, it looks like V8 squirting out of his giant tits. and like the arrow hits the car. They somehow make the CGI arrows look like Nerf arrows. Like when they hit the car, and then at one point he shoots her, or she shoots the Sasquatch. He obviously is just like not affected by these arrows at all, but she keeps sticking with plan A. And then he's running into a field. He looks to be no more than 10 yards away from her. And she's just like, got away again. Like, she just gives up on him. And then you see him run into the field and then just evaporate.
Yeah.
He just disappears, which the first time you see it, you're like, what the fuck just happened?
I thought it was a mistake. Honestly, I was like, is that supposed to happen?
But then it happens several more times, almost to the point where it feels like a broken record a little bit. There's also another really, really funny scene where it's just the dialogue, but also it's the assumptions around the scenario that made this scene possible, which is they go into a fancy restaurant and it's clearly like 10 a.m. Like they just shot it at a restaurant one of them worked at, and they said, can we come in and film for a minute before we open for lunch? And they were like, yeah, okay. And they come in and he's got his like kind of quote unquote successful friend who's wearing a suit. And these glasses that, again, this is like, it looks like these glasses are out of 1974.
He is the oldest child.
Yes, he is. He absolutely is. He looks like a kid who was like, I'm gonna go raid my dad's closet, and then come in and look like. But he does this dialogue that is written in such a clunky way that is so unnatural, and he's like, there's a lot of, he makes some innocuous comment about there's a lot of weird stuff happening in this town. He's like, it wouldn't surprise me in this backwater burg. Like, what? Who talks like that?
That guy does.
Yeah.
I mean, were you guys not even at all upset that he just definitely left his entire beer there too? I was just like,
he did. He had a like old school Pilsner glass brimmed. Just said, I'm gonna order that and fuck off.
Yeah. If I was the other guy that was there, I would have just been like, yeah, I can't afford beer right now, but he left me an entire beer, so I'm gonna drink that entire thing.
Yeah.
So you can't be drinking it because they'd be messing up the continuity.
More messing it up than him.
Then we gotta buy another beer.
Then less than like the slow zoom out at the end where he's just like constantly looking down and then looking up, breaking the fourth wall, looking down. It was just fucking hilarious, dude. Like,
it's just, again, every single moment there's something wrong.
Did you guys catch and this is like, I didn't want to go too past this point. I was like, when the kid got attacked, did you catch the mom saying like monsters aren't real, like the boogeyman or your father, they aren't there?
Yeah.
I like made a note. So
they had some jokes
funny
there. And then in that scene also, there is a woman, the mother, who gets dragged by the Sasquatch and effectively kind of fights him off for a second. But then in the next scene, the Sasquatch picks a police cruiser up over his head and throws it. But yes, and that's accompanied by a great scene of the cop on the CB with the other cop. He's like, "It's coming right at me!" Picks up the car, throws it. Again, we're not doing it justice. You really got to see it to believe it.
Yes, and because it's less picks a cop car up and more picks a PNG up and throws it.
Yes. Yeah. And then I like when he's like, what happened? And he goes, "It was trying to get me." The whole movie, this is the majesty of the whole movie. It feels on every ounce of its being that it was manifested in the brain of a 12-year-old. But it wasn't. It was a grown-ass man who put this all together and had he had adult faculties. This is the movie that we would have made if one of our friends got into a Big scenario, like the scenario of Tom Hanks in Big. Like if one of our friends all of a sudden was a grown-up and we were like, "Oh man, one of our friends is a grown-up. We can go rent a car and a camera and we can go get money out of our parents' bank accounts and make this dumb movie." Like if one of us got bigged, this is the movie we would have made.
You know what I think is also a scenario is that maybe he was just like cleaning out his house, ran into a box that had all of his old journals, and he found this plot and was like, "You know what? I think this has legs."
I have a better thought that David Wiscavige is just two kids on each other's shoulders with a trench coat. Like that's what it feels like right from the beginning.
My theory now is that he stole this movie from the kid that's in his film.
Yeah, that might be true too. Like it feels like it's out of the brain of a child. There's just, again, we're going to be jumping all around all over the place here. But I love here's another funny part here, because he really portrays this whole kind of man v nature thing and talks about basically this is what happens when humans encroach on nature and on, in this instance, the Sasquatch's environment. And even so much so he hammers it home in that scene with the two women in the car, and they're like going out to buy, show her this new house they're building or whatever. And then they ultimately, obviously have a run-in with Sasquatch, but they're really leaning into this whole idea that like this whole wooded area is becoming developed and it's humans that are encroaching on him or her or the Sasquatch, that is. But then, so they bring the Native American warrior in, and she has this connection to nature, and she does all these kind of like rituals and things like that to connect with nature. But then she ultimately is trying to kill nature and save the civilization that is encroaching. So it's just like, it's so disjointed. It really betrays itself on so many levels. And it's just, like I said, it's just like the ineptitude is just gorgeous in its purity, and then again we get another iconic scene here, the greatest CGI boulders ever committed to celluloid. It's this fancy people drinking champagne in a house that has paintings. Like the whole thing is just me. Like I'm just imagining myself as this like little white trash kid going like, what do fancy people do? And then like, that's what it feels like he did. And but then there's like a guy wearing a backwards baseball cap that looks like everyone's like uncle's friend. And he's in the, like at the walking through this, it's supposed to be like an art gallery maybe, but it's just someone's like middle class home, and then she comes outside and there are giant CGI boulders getting thrown at her by Sasquatch. Yeah. Did you guys catch this? Because I've watched this movie probably 4 times now, and this is the first time I caught it right around that same time. the Native American warrior woman, what's her name? Tia, something like that.
I don't know.
I don't know. Tila, Tequila. She shows up and she shoots Sasquatch with the bow and arrow, drops her bow, turns around, says something to the woman, like, go back inside, I'll take care of this. And she's like, okay. Then she just picks the bow back up. Like, why did she drop the bow? It clearly looked like it was supposed to be something, and then she just picked it back up. I don't know. It just struck me as, it was like one of these things you see these things for the first time, like even you could watch this 100 times and discover something new every time.
I mean, that's the beauty of the film, though, is that it is so rich with everything that goes wrong that that it's worth, like, and like, I guess I mentioned it to you, but I was talking to other people about this film of just like, this is the best end of it. You know, like think of everything that didn't make it into this film, even if he did a second take, somewhere out there's a take that he decided was worse than what ended up in the final product.
But it's just like the perfect balance. That's like what it strikes me as this. It strikes me as this like perfect storm. If it was any worse, I wouldn't be able to believe that it was on purpose.
Right.
And if it was any better, it would be Blood Rain or something, you know what I mean? Where you're like, this isn't even like, it's too good to be funny, but too bad to be entertaining. This is just like, it is the Goldilocks of bad movies in that it is perfectly bad, but so earnest and believable. You know what I mean? This next scene is where we talked about where the dog gets ripped in half. This is Buffy or Buddy or something is the dog's name. And I love that Sasquatch picks up this little dog and rips in half, but it's like he's struggling pretty hard to rip the dog in half, but he just picked up a police cruiser.
Of all the things. Police cruisers, fine. Boulders, fine. Dismemberment, fine. Like, he rips people's limbs off easier than he rips this dog in half. Because it's a fucking stuffed animal they had to pre-cut.
Well, and then also he puts the sound effect that he puts over top of it is of like fabric ripping.
Because it was a stuffed animal.
Well, that's what I was like, wouldn't it be funny if like actually the real story here is that the idea is that he's so strong he'll rip apart anyone's favorite stuffed animal. Like it actually was meant to be a stuffed animal.
That's funny.
But so then you get this kind of rubber Squatch mask. This is that like. So I guess I should explain the scene. There's a close up of the Sasquatch eating one of the fake limbs, and it's like they put like a modest amount of gore on its face, and it's like eating this limb, and it's like interstitially like cut with this woman eating a hot dog in a car, and it's definitely him. Like he really thought this was like hard-hitting social commentary.
Yeah, I'm saying like, something with this consumerism.
I'm saying, yes, this woman, how is this woman doing this any different than this? It's just like he really thought he was telling a story in that, visually. So now the Native American, warrior woman, she can now bring people back to life, by the way. I don't know. There's like so many scenes of her and Rick just talking in circles with this like really pie in the sky nonsense that's so funny that I just can't even go through it. You really have to experience it. And Rick gets killed and then she brings him back to life, I guess. I don't know. He may or may not be dead, but she brings him back to life with like some potions or something.
The power of love, Brian.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We talked about how she, Sasquatch blocks these tomahawks with the log. And she throws tomahawks, which is also like, I mean, the whole thing is like vaguely racist too, which is just like, of course it is.
Well, yeah, because again, it's a Hispanic person playing a Native American written by a white guy.
Like it's like obviously this is 2004, but like this would be something that somebody would get absolutely skewered for right now, but it's actually the least of their problems.
It really is, yeah. And again, like, okay, so if this is a film that kids made, or a film that was made in like college, was like a film school film, you know, you have limited resources, you have limited people that you can cast. You know, that's not it's not really a terrible thing if you're just trying to tell a story. On the other hand, maybe just don't write, you know, this weird Native American angle when you're a guy from Westchester you have no connection to.
But the thing is, like, it's almost like forgivable because everything else in the movie makes you realize that he was never anywhere close to making the right decision there. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, that would be like asking a dog to use a computer. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, that would be way too much to ask. P.S. We're like halfway through the film. Like, I'm gonna go through. I'm gonna buzz through the last end of it because we're like, it's just you have to see it to believe it. But So I love the story. I couldn't help this. I love the story of the cop telling his history and how his wife got stolen by Ghost Sasquatch. And then he moved to this town because he was looking to avoid crime. He was a cop going to a town to avoid crime. That's what the story was, which I loved. There's a really great, again, a very well-known scene, this mechanic scene where there's these two guys working on cars, and then the one like walks around a corner and everything's foggy. Like, there's clearly just a little fog machine. He doesn't notice it at first, but then when he does, he just shrugs.
Yeah.
I love the shrug. And then this was supposed to be, I think, their big practical effect gore scene where he like scratches the guy's face and there's like chicken skin or something on his face that he's supposed to look like gore, and then you're supposed to be able to like see his intestines, but it just looks like I don't know, it just looks like a corset kind of thing. I don't know.
It looks like another t-shirt underneath that has like pantyhose that have been balled up into intestines. Like, yeah.
And there's like always such a lack of blood. And even after he like rips the guy's like leg off and then chugs it like it's stone cold up on the turnbuckle. But then there's no blood on the ground anywhere. It was just it was wild.
Which is also just, the scene is hilarious because there's two other really funny things that just stand out to me. Is one, we haven't talked about it, but every time Sasquatch attacks, almost, is Sasquatch is put up on these stilts. Because
he's still standing on like a milk crate.
Because the person in the suit is at best 5'8", so they put him up on like these stilts that they built of like, they're really wood and they're covered in fur and they have these built feet. So but he also has just baby arms. Because then you have somebody who's 7 foot tall with regular person arms.
I can't remember exactly which scene it was, but there was one where he was attacking someone, and each clip he was a different height.
Yeah. That happens all throughout the film, but it gets ridiculous. And then the guy who gets scratched and attacked, his friend is under the truck and never hears any of this. And then is really super put off when Bigfoot tries to take him away from the mechanic job he's doing on the truck. He seemed less mad that he seemed less scared that he was getting attacked and more mad of like, hey, I'm trying to do something here.
He was mad. He was upset. He was like, what the fuck? Again, there's just like things that would be an absolute gem in every other scenario, but is like in this almost an afterthought, where like the Native American woman sends birds to attack Sasquatch. Like, that's just like almost an afterthought. And then they get this crew of like just dumb bros. And it's like, and at the moment you're like, let's call the boys. The boys will take care of it. Like, who the fuck are the boys? Right. They're supposed to be some like local toughs, but one of them is wearing a very out of place like Bill Cosby sweater, and then one of them's wearing a wig, and you're like, why is that happening? But you quickly realize why. They just get, as they're getting like mauled, One of them gets his arms ripped off, and then the sweater is on the arms, and then the one guy gets his head ripped off, and the wig is put on the head. And it just reminded me of like when you're playing like Resident Evil, and there's like an item in the background that's like
out.
that's like shining, so you can interact with it.
Or even like the Hanna-Barbera cartoons where you can tell which thing of the cell is about to move on the static
and which
background.
One is the background.
Yeah. Which book in the bookcase is Scooby about the pool?
Exactly. Yeah. And then I love, maybe my favorite, honestly, I know this is a small part, but this just for whatever reason to me was so charming and endearing, was when they throw a net over Sasquatch, but then the net is like animated,
the net
and
is
it's like
moving.
It's like wiggling, like it's made out of snakes. And it's like, it made me want to believe it was like a magic like eel net that they threw over him, and it's just like
he has
wiggling.
that some mysticism. Maybe that's the only way he could do it. I'm cool. I'm gonna go along with
net
this
for Sasquatch.
But then Sasquatch gets out of the net, and they have a real net for that scene.
Then that was the thing, is like they had a real net. What happened? That, what I was thinking is they were there, it was getting dark, and he was like, oh, we lost the net. Who has the net? Oh, so-and-so left in his car. The net was in his car. And he was like, that's all right, I'll get it in post. And he really didn't know what that meant at the time. So then he got in over his head.
He didn't know.
I just love it. Yeah.
I'll fix it in post. I don't know what that means, but it's what people on film sets say.
I've heard directors say that before. And then he spent 3 weeks making that weird jiggly net. So the swim tackling. So then all the dumb idiots are running at him with guns, and they've either used all their ammo or they forgot how guns work, but they're running at him like they're going to use the guns as weapons, and he's just shoving them out of the way by their heads. It's such a great scene. And so again, we're kind of spiraling towards the end here. The cop puke scene when he enters the house is like, he really thought that was going to be like hard hitting, because they have a scene of like a guy laying on the ground flopping around with clearly his arm just in his like Billabong t-shirt and blood on the ground, and you could tell that was the only place that maybe it was his own house, maybe it was someone else's house, but it was the only place that he got permission to put blood on the floor. You know what I mean? Like everywhere else he wasn't allowed to, because he didn't want to make a mess, and he was like he would get in trouble. So he was like asking somebody for a favor, so he couldn't put blood all over their floor. But this is the only time he was like, okay, I can put blood on the floor. So this has got to be my big gross out scene with the arm missing. So he brings the cop in and like pukes on the ground. And it's just he's trying to sell it so hard, and it just doesn't land in any way, shape, or form. And then, so at this point, the Native American woman, she's been captured. She's in a cave. Rick comes and easily finds her. And then, he's nursed back to health already by this point. And then you cut to the most weird Tim and Eric type of scene of the movie, where there's a couple in their house, and assumingly they're an older couple, and the man is just standing there drinking and dancing. It felt like it was something out of Tim and Eric, or like the Greasy Strangler or something like that. He's just like standing drunk, dancing to some music. And so again, this is the climax kind of thing. And the one cop is getting like his head squished or strangled or something by Bigfoot. And the other cop just goes, no, let him go. And then says, I think he says, ashes to ashes. Ashes to ashes, you fucking monster. Shoots an oil tank. CGI flames pop out. And it's very much meant to be like a Loomis at the end of Halloween 2, where he lights the lighter after the whole room's been filled with flammable gas, and then he's going to take his own life because he can now save everyone from Michael. But in this instance, I think it just kind of scares the Sasquatch, maybe. I don't know.
It gets away.
He runs away.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work at all. He gets away. And then there's again, we're not going to belabor the plot here, because there is no plot really to be said, but there's a magic arrow that's shot. And this this CGI effect is glorious. He does this like the following the arrow. He clearly did the thing kind of that he did in the credits sequence at the beginning, where he's kind of following, but the arrow is like in the periphery, and you get it like going through Sasquatch into his body. And then the Sasquatch turns into pure energy and explodes, I think.
Which, like, he absolutely, I don't know how he edited it, but it's either in Premiere or After Effects, and he absolutely went into generate lightning. And like you can make these shitty lightning strands. Like it's still an obsolete effect in both programs today. But he made these shitty lightning strands come out of Bigfoot, and then it turns into a ball.
Literally, what happens when the Megazord destroys a monster on Power Rangers. Yeah. Like that's what happens.
And then he has the effect. It like the effect bothers me. I know it's bad, but it bothers me because he has Bigfoot turn into like a ball of energy and explode. So like that effect plays out, but right before after it concludes, there's still frames of Bigfoot that should have already faded out. Like
it's still there.
He knew enough to film a plate of nobody in the room so he could have a background, so he could fade Bigfoot out. But like Bigfoot shouldn't have been there after the effect was over. It's just
there's residual Bigfoot. Yeah.
It's just God damn it.
And I love that there's also just no blood on the wall, carpeting anywhere. Like you could tell this was supposed to be Rick's grandma, and I imagine it was probably the director's grandma, if I had to guess. And there's no blood on the wall, carpeting anywhere, because you can't put blood on grandma's carpet, right? She's got wall-to-wall carpet, right? And I love the time where now they cut back to the grandma, which there was a scene earlier with Rick talking to his grandma for a long time. And grandma has just been attacked by Bigfoot. Bigfoot was shot with a magic arrow in her home. He turned into pure energy and exploded all over her house. And she goes, "Go take care of the lady. I've been through tougher times." Like this was just a Thursday for grandma. Yeah. I loved it.
I just she obsessively, I feel like, talked about how much she was going to die though too. I think there's something about even you once you get over a certain age, you're like, nope, I'm just gonna start talking to you about death and how I'm going to die. Yeah. And she
oh yeah, my grandfather's same way. He's been telling me that it was going to be his last Christmas since I was 8. Yeah, he's freaking 91. So, again, this is the end. That was the climax. Now, Rick saves her with magic or whatever, and then they're in love now. They kiss, they hold hands, eagle flies.
Credits.
That's it. That's literally pretty much as much sense as what I just said is what happens at the end. So, yeah, again, it just feels like it feels so familiar, I think, because it feels like a movie that I would have absolutely made when I was 10. And it's if you have people over and you're having some beers or you're doing a couple bong rips, watch this movie. You're going to have a fucking blast. And there's no way you're not going to have fun.
Yeah. It is such a repeatable event because there's so many fucking things wrong with it. And like you were saying, it falls right into that Goldilocks zone of there are so few films like this because most films are just bad and boring. Just movies that are just long and they're full of filler of people walking around in the woods. But the fact that he took the time to go to all these different locations, even if it's just filming in grandma's house or the empty restaurant, he put time and effort into a lot of stuff to make fucking crazy nonsense.
Yeah, it is a perfect storm of a movie, and it's
first I thought you were going to say perfect movie, and I felt like
it's a perfect motion picture. No, but you would seriously, somebody would watch this who and say I can imagine somebody watch this and go, "This is terrible. I could make this." And it's could you? Probably. Would you? No.
Yeah.
So that's why it's such a unicorn. Mm-hmm. No one should have done this.
Yeah. And I think most people who would try to attempt this, one, you can't attempt this in earnest and you can't make a film that's a mistake. Like, you can't do that because it becomes too obvious. The only film that I think does that really well is Black Dynamite. That movie's hilarious with the mistakes it makes. But like, the other thing is, most people who would try to make a film would just wind up making boring shit.
Either boring shit or like it's too self-aware. Like, this movie led to the making of movies like Velocipaster.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Which I don't like, because they try to do it.
They're trying to make a bad movie. And like, I listen, I watch some of it. Okay, it's fine. But like, it's not, it just loses all the magic that makes this movie so entertaining.
Yeah. I don't like when people attempt it. That's why I don't like Velocipaster. I don't like Kung Fury, because it's a real try hard. Like, but like, when
it's not earnest.
Right.
It's not. Yeah. That's the difference between a good bad movie and a bad movie.
And a bad movie.
Yeah. So that's it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it, guys. I'm glad that you were along on this ride with me. And now I would appreciate if you voted for my movie.
I'm sure you would, as we would all appreciate if somebody voted for our movie.
Yeah.
Cool.
So let's get down to the nitty gritty, because we are, I assume 7 hours into this recording. So so I'm going to vote for my movie. I'm just,
Same.
That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. Is anybody deviating?
No.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Number twos.
Okay.
Again, you can decide order if you want.
Okay. Let's just go in the order that we went. Let's just go in the order that we did it in. So that would put Steve first.
Yeah. So, like I said, I like the thing about Meg's film is that they tried to really incorporate the people, and if Meg's movie came out in 1998 and was like the first found footage, it would probably be the best one. But the thing is, it came out in 2013, so there wasn't that much innovative about it. It just, and like, I had seen it before I'd seen it already before this. So on a second watch, it's completely laborious. Like, the payoff is not enough to make me want to sit around for it. Suburban Sasquatch is not a good film. It is not a good Bigfoot movie. It's not, but it is a magic unicorn that you just keep going back to. Like,
you're right.
There's always something to pick out from it.
Yeah.
And
it's like The Room or something.
It's like The Room. It's like Neil Breen films. It's like Birdemic's too fucking boring, but it's like these magical films. Who's the other one? I think her name's Deandra. She's like she's the rare female version of all these guys, but she makes her own films and music videos that are incomprehensible, and we'll get to one day, but so I have to vote for Suburban Sasquatch because I'm going to watch it again. I'm going, like, it's so fucked up and crazy, and like, it has its own value. Willow Creek, I know the ins and outs, and it's not worth going back to again. Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
And the sound design both sucks on both films, but one person has an excuse. Bobcat Goldthwait doesn't have an excuse to dip into the lion.1.wave file.
Whatever you say, Steve. I hear you and I understand. If you need to talk more later, we can. That's fine.
All right, Meg, what are you doing?
I actually I knew going in that I was going to go to a specific movie because for many reasons. But I wanted to it exists a lot. But I felt, I don't know, I'm trying to break it down. There were many things that I did like. I liked that it actually had some jump scares. I liked that it had this more aggressive take on Bigfoot than, not that Suburban Sasquatch didn't and not that mine didn't, but I felt like I compared it to the zombies where it's we got these fast zombies. I thought it was cool and it actually was a little scary. But I'm going to go Suburban Sasquatch solely because of how entertained I was watching it.
Yeah. It is a pleasure of a movie, boys and girls. And listen, you're fishing with dynamite with Suburban Sasquatch, because how can you not like it? If somebody watched that and was like, I did not enjoy myself, I would be like, I don't think we can be friends. Like, how is this not? I didn't say every part of it was riveting, but it is just, yeah. All right. I am going to say I enjoy both these movies. Kept my attention. I had no qualms about either of them. I think the one thing about Willow Creek was, and I thought I had seen Willow Creek before, but I didn't. This was a first time watch for me. You wanted a payoff, and I am okay with a slow burn. I am okay with a movie that like all the action happens in the last 15 minutes. Like I am a glutton for punishment in that way. And there were some cool tense scenes, but I really needed to see me a Squatch at some point. And so it's one of those movies where you walk away going, felt like something was missing there. It felt like a little bit of maybe a cash. I don't say cash grab, because I doubt it made a lot of money, but it was definitely felt like the iron is starting to cool. Let's strike it one more time real quick. You know what I mean? Whereas Exists, I thought, had a great costume. Yes, was it slow at times? Sure. I really couldn't stand the fucking guy with the gun that said bro every 5 seconds. He was really a problem for me. But you got a good Sasquatch. You got a really good monster performance, which I'm always like, even if everything else sucked about the movie, which it didn't, but if I can get a good monster performance, I'm in. And this one had that. So I'm going to go with Exists.
Sure, Brian. Sounds good.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, my only hope was that Meg was so turned off by Suburban Sasquatch, like, some way, just like, I don't know. I don't know what would it have been, but it just,
yeah.
The noise, like she's allergic to
sometimes chaos wins,
giant
guys.
Sasquatch tits. I don't know.
Sometimes chaos wins.
Yes, and I have proven that 2 consecutive showdowns, boys and ghouls. So your boy is keeping that strap for another month. And if you recall, last time around, I won in a grimy, down and dirty showdown where we all picked bad movies, and I won.
My thing was, I was hoping Brian didn't know about Suburban Sasquatch. That was
Why would I not know about?
I don't know.
Sasquatch?
Well, you don't know about all the Bigfoot films.
That's true. That's true. So anyway, I picked a relatively easy film for my quote unquote punishment movie that time around. This time around, I earned it fair and square, guys. I went up in a David and Goliath story. I brought it home once again. So this time around, we have talked about it enough. We have teased it enough. We are going with The Boxer's Omen for the which Steve has seen. I have introduced it. Steve, you saw it for the first time recently, right? Or were you familiar with that film?
Oh, no. It was like when you started talking about it, I was like, what the fuck is Brian watching?
Yes. Meg has not seen it yet. You are
Correct.
in for a treat. It is free on YouTube. I do not think it even has graced the sacred pages of Tubi yet, but hopefully it will be soon. So we're gonna get into that some bitch on this next here mini-sode, you guys.
All right.
All right. With that being said, anything else we need to talk about on the next movie? We'll talk about that on the showdown, or I mean on the punishment episode, and then pretty soon after that, we will be spinning that damn wheel again for May. Which, I mean, May, we're a whole way into spring, guys. Mm-hmm. You know what that means? It's almost Halloween. So, if you haven't already, follow us on the social medias. Just go ahead and type in Halloween is Forever somewhere, and you will find us. If you have suggestions for minisodes or showdown episode topics, throw us our way, and we will put them in that damn wheel before we spin it for the month of May. Yeah. Anything else?
Nope.
Nope. That's it. That's it, guys. Bask in it. Soak it up. Soak it up.
I'm gonna go take a very cold shower.
Yes, because those big giant hairy Sasquatch tits got you so revved up. Is that why? Because that's what happened to me.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, boys and ghouls, for the Halloween is Forever crew, I'm Brian.
I'm Meg.
I'm Steve.
See you around.
Bye bye bye.